What time is it? You gotta say it. You want me to say it? Adventure time! Come along with me and the butterflies and be. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. If you don't know that, you missing out, man. What is good, YouTube? I know I'm probably back with another video. Today, we have a long one, man. I had somebody in the comments, so in the beginning of my video, I said basically, you know what I'm saying, different videos I won't react to because I don't know why YouTube is recommending me these videos. Even though it's good videos, I watch by myself, but it's not videos I react to. So YouTube is doing this job. But the obscure lore of Adventure Time, which I would probably watch by myself. I don't know if I would watch that on video because this is 3 hours long. Let me know if y'all want to watch that. Dude basically said in the comments he'll watch it. And I said, you know what I'm saying, I ain't throwing it out the window completely. You know what I'm saying, I'll react to it because, you know, I need to catch up on the lore, you know, because I don't know the complete lore of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm mixing a few, you know what I'm saying, jigsaw puzzles. But yeah, man, got a long one, so you want to stop the intro. You know, shout out to French, real flow. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Adventure Time might just be the most iconic and greatest show of the 2010s.
This is my top 5 shows all time. You know what I'm saying? All time.
With a massive story spanning from before time began to thousands of years past modern day. But when did you stop watching? When Finn and Jake obtained the all-powerful Enchiridion from Mount Cragdor? When Ricardio left the Ice King's chest?
I just stopped watching. I actually finished it. I had stopped watching because I think we ran out of cable when I was younger, and I rewatched it all because I had a few episodes that I missed because the cable would turn off. But me and my homie Dame, shout out Dame, we
when they met
to it
Billy
in,
and fought the Lich, Marceline saw
and
about her father eating her french fries, the insane rule of the Earl of Lemongrab, Prismo in the Time Room, the resurrection of the vampires, the island of humans, the complete elemental takeover of Oo, or the massive gum war with the deity Gold. Or have you continued watching all the way into the Fiona and Cake show? Today I'm going to cover every inch of the story in all 3 shows, making it a total of 297 episodes, along with over 100 comics and multiple video games. There is so much canon, and I'm going in extremely comprehensive detail. So come on, grab your friends and about 3 hours of your time, and let's begin at the beginning. It all begins in the time before time existed. Before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. Anywhere from 3 to billions. In an event that's like the monkeys writing Shakespeare, they basically say, you know what, let's create this. And thus the multiverse is born. The multiverse works like all other multiverses in media. Bunch of universes all connected in one big umbrella. And there are a lot of universes. The only known pre-nothingness monsters are the Lich, who is the manifestation of evil itself, Orgalorg, who will eventually become known as the Breaker of Worlds, and Kokentepi, revered as a very strong and powerful beast. Among the multiverse, there is
my eye burn. I don't know who that is.
a dimension that exists outside of time, that being the Time Room. To quote an intelligent little frumpy creature dude named Bucco, at the center of the multiverse is a dimension called the Time Room, believed to be the quasi-corporeal dwelling place of the almighty Prismo. The Time Room is the single dimension that exists outside of time. The Time Room produces time waves that are experienced by other dimensions. Some dimensions have permanent links that allow travel to and from. Others become linked temporarily by naturally forming wormholes, and others can become linked artificially by magic portals torn open by items of great power. Once the last gem is inserted into the Enchiridion, it will have the power to create a portal to any dimension in the multiverse. An activated portal creates a time dilation in which either end of the portal experiences a temporal synchronization, allowing for the safe passage of particles through a non-local region of space-time. End quote. Okay, good. So within like the first 1 to 2 minutes, we're all super confused. It's a little less confusing than what it sounds, but not that much less. Prismo the Wishmaster, the guy inside the Time Room, is super cool. Prismo is like a 2D, sorta, cosmic entity that loves and creates pickles. He doesn't really exist technically, as he's a dream projection and that has been sleeping for an unknown amount of time. Prismo is called the Wishmaster as he grants one wish to whomever is able to successfully reach his time room. Wishes can be as simple as a sandwich to creating a completely new alternate reality which results in a brand new dimension. Beyond being the Wishmaster, it is also his job to make sure all dimensions of the multiverse remain in check and nothing bad happens, like a crossover. Despite being more powerful than a god, he is subjected to audits by a god auditor named Scarab. He puts any and all cosmic entities in check after a severe rule breaking. Scarab's boss is Orbo, and that's his only known role. Get it? Role? He's a ball. Prismo and Orbo share a boss, who seemingly everyone fears, but nothing is known of them. Like Prismo, there are other cosmic entities in charge of big, important things, like Death. Prismo just so happens to be friends and parties with quite a few of them. The cosmic entity Death resides in the land of the dead, which is the waiting room lobby area for all souls. Death resides in a castle of light, and is responsible for where all the souls go. There are 50 dead worlds where souls are able to go based on how they lived their lives. The first being pretty bad, and the 50th is like the purest enlightenment. But up there, you don't remember anything about your previous life. In the middle dead worlds, you are yourself, but dead, retaining your memories. Just because you die doesn't mean you're dead. Some profound stuff. I think Aurelius said that or something. The souls may also visit the material world for reasons like unfinished business or to kill fellow ghosts. And another quote from philosopher Mung, just because you're living doesn't mean you can't be dead. So through weird rituals, mortals can access the land of the dead. When you die, allegedly you have the opportunity to pick between the land of the dead or the Nightosphere. However, varying examples may disprove that. And what is the Nightosphere? I'll touch on that in a second. Another cosmic entity is Life. She is in charge of reincarnation. She molds the souls into a new body with her pottery, and they can live on as a new life. They won't remember their previous one, but can have a loose connection with it. The cosmic owl is responsible for everyone's dreams in the multiverse. If the cosmic owl appears in someone's dream, they become a premonition dream, where the events come true in some capacity. If he appears in a dream where the dreamer dies, that becomes a croak dream, solidifying their future death. The cosmic owl and Prismo are very close, both loners in their isolated lives. The cosmic owl is secluded in his star motel room, forced to monitor all dreams with no room for a love life. The Catalyst Comet is another powerful cosmic entity, and is probably the most confusing one. Every 1,000 years it crashes into Earth and will either bring something wonderful or something horrible, or something in between. The comets are called an agent of change, changing the future for the better or for the worse, or whatever would be in between those. Every agent of change is reincarnated upon death so they may continue their original purpose. The Lich once took the form of the comet, bringing awful things, and Finn was once the comet as well, bringing an eternal hero.
This is like, I don't know, this is why this is one of my favorite shows all the time.
There are more beyond just those two, and I'll talk about it when necessary. The party god is just that, the god of partying. It sounds like a curse, but I think he enjoys it. He's invariably partying every waking moment. Also, not capable of a love life because he's too busy partying. This broke up his last relationship. If you're also a party animal and get into his good graces, he will grant you one wish, just like Prismo. However, I presume party god's wishes are less capable than Prismo's. The King of Mars, also known as the 16th President of the United States of America, Abraham Lincoln himself, is also of cosmic entity stature. Grob Gob Glob Grod is another cosmic entity who does a lot of important stuff I'm not talking about yet, but they are a deity of a religion in the land of U. Chronologius Rex, aka the Lord of Eternity and All Time, oversees a place called the Vanishing Point, the center of all time. If a promise or oath is made to all time, it must be upheld, for if it is broken, the forswearer will be sent to the Vanishing Point, being fully erased from all of history. There are 4 cosmic entities representing 4 of the elements, but I'll get into those in a second. And finally, the most evil of evil, Golb, the embodiment of chaos and disorder. He resides in his own dimension of nothingness. The Lich, who is the literal embodiment of evil, claims he is the last scholar of Golb. So if the Lich, evil incarnate, admires him, he's got something going on. So let's just move to the Big Bang, or however Earth in the solar system came to be. Like our Earth, it has 4 elements: fire, ice, candy, and slime. Well, close enough to our Earth. There is also one anti-element, being lumps. Certain people or creatures embody these elements and wield their powers, and once they die, they will be reincarnated to someone new, and they will control them. They have always been and always will be. This is the symbol representing these 4. The lumps element is a little different, originating in a completely separate dimension called lumpy space. The 4 cosmic entities that represent the elements are Zon, the fire element, who is the sun, Lune, of the ice element, Arklathak of the candy element, and Nixat-A of the slime element. I don't know if that's how you say it, but the dude has an apostrophe in his name. Zon, Arklathak, and Nixat-A make sure to destroy every creature beginning to develop on Earth. Lune puts a stop to this, banishing the 3 from Earth. Lune destroys herself to forge the Sword of Lune, the only weapon able to stop them. It can only be used by the one that's worthy. Quote, a warrior...
Bro, I never knew none of this stuff. Man, we got a long way to go.
who can withstand great bodily loss without injury. What
is
Loon
this?
did was very noble. However, the way this world works, things repeat themselves. So all future
Okay,
ice
now I
elementals
see-
will
I
always
see now.
betray the other three, even if the other three are the good ones. Now finally, to the first real time period, dinosaur times. That's what I'm calling it. No corrections, please. A green catalyst comet, which is the Lich, is hurtling towards Earth. The current four elements, Urgence Evergreen of ice, Chatsberry of candy, Balthus of fire, and Slimy D of slime, each rule their own kingdoms. The
It's
world is
OP.
separated into four elemental quadrants, each of them ruling their own. Evergreen has a little dinosaur protege named Gunther, who respects Evergreen immensely with hopes of one day possessing magic powers like his master. Evergreen stole Gunther's egg and mutated his brain to apparently make him sentient. Evergreen seeks to prevent the will of nature and stop the Catalyst Comet from hitting Earth. He senses this comet is far different from the others from past millennia, and this one would bring immense destruction and kill mostly everything. The other elements did not see this as an issue, as they will live on through reincarnation. So Evergreen took this into his own hands. He created a magical crown with immense power, granting the wearer a powerful wish. In order to power it, he had to get the ruby eyes of Magwood the Lava Dog, so he freezes the other elementals to prevent them from preventing him, fulfilling the ice elemental betrayal for this generation, and he blinds that fire dog with the help of Gunther. Evergreen finishes his crown, but Magwood was able to track him and attack his castle, imprisoning Evergreen under rubble. Now, in Gunther's hands to wish away the comet, he is overwhelmed by his greatest desire, to become his master. And he definitely didn't wish the comet away. He became what he saw in his master, mean and a powerful ice elemental. His wish deprived the crown of its wish-granting ability and permanently making it the ice crown, bestowing the burden of madness and ice powers unto the new wearer. This permanently immortalized Gunther, not physically, but inside the crown. All future and past wearers of the crown will be stored in it like a thumb drive. The Catalyst Comet crashes into Earth, being the thing that caused the dinosaur extinction, probably. The four elementals die, and it plants the non-corporeal Lich into Earth. Some time has passed. Okay, maybe a lot of time has passed. There are three types of people who begin to dominate the world. Humans, wizards, and vampires. The vampires came first, but went underground and hibernated during the Ice Age. The wizards formed Wizard City, a secret society type thing. The wizard cult worshipped one of the pre-nothingness monsters, Kokentepi, and got some wicked powers from him. Kokentepi eventually died for reasons unknown, and Wizard City was expropriated from the cult. The new guys were like, nah, dark magic. No, only good boy magic. Kokentepi's body was sealed away in a chamber beneath the city to contain its potential post-mortem powers. Imagine being so powerful that death isn't even good enough to contain you. The next major event, actually given a name, the first coming of Golb, the embodiment of chaos, in case you forgot, attacks Mars. So, actually, back up. Mars is just like Earth. It has its own civilization of human-adjacent people. The ruler is the king of Mars, aka Abraham Lincoln. Despite not being born yet, he is the ruler. Prominent Martian figures are Grob Gob Glob Grod, who, like I mentioned, will eventually become a religion's god. They are four dudes in one body, and they have a brother, Magic Man. Magic Man had a wife named Margles, and when Golb arrived, he wiped Margles from existence. Devastated Magic Man creates a defense system called Magical Automatic Resistance Generating Laser Energy Supplier, or for short, Margles. It looked identical to Margles and was installed supplier, or for short.
Why does it look familiar? Is it like? I cannot remember.
Margles. It looked identical to Margles and was installed on the highest mountain of Mars. Due to his clouded judgment and loss, the defense mechanism was created with Magic Man's nightmares and faulty spells, so it goes insane and the new Margles must be powered down. He spends a long time, potentially years, trying anything to get her back, even wishing for her from Prismo. But wish magic has no effect on Golb. So what do we do when we lose someone instead of handling it normally? We become a raging a-hole and a diabolical little riffraff. He terrorizes Mars for hundreds of years, and I'll resume that when we get to the hundreds of years. A new encounter with a cosmic entity. This time being the Catalyst Comet. This one is yellow and due to hit Earth very soon. The ancient monster Orgolorg is planning to prevent its collision and consume its power, so good ol' Abe commands Grob Gob Glob Grod to make the ancient monster not do the ancient monster behavior. Orgolorg was cast down to a dumb planet, and his entire memory would be repressed into the deepest depths of his mind, not remembering a thing. When Orgolorg was plummeting to that dumb planet, which was Earth, the gravity compressed his body at 9.8 meters per second, and crushed it into a cute little penguin. And now all this destroyer of worlds could do was go wank. He would then live among other penguins and creatures as time went on. Oh yeah, by the way, he's immortal. So he's lived among the ancient Egyptians, gladiators, the Renaissance, fought in World War I, became a movie director, and so on. The Yellow Catalyst comet ultimately hit Earth, bringing another agent of change, but I don't know what. Perhaps it will be whatever is eventually Jake the Dog through reincarnation. Urgent's Evergreen's crown has been found by jolly old Saint Nick himself, Santa Claus, and he at some point in time has worn the crown, and his personality has been stored inside of it, along with a boy named Svein, who wore it once, presumably in the Middle Ages. Nothing more is known about either of their encounters with the crown. And now the year is 1809. Abraham Lincoln is born. Skip ahead just a little bit to April 15th, 1865. And he is dead. Sorry, too soon? Assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. And once he dies, he bargains with death and they negotiate a deal or something for Abraham Lincoln to be immortalized and become the King of Mars, which also time travels him back to before he was born, establishing him as the King of Mars. Time travel, wonderful. Skipping ahead in the mostly modern day, a few decades before the 2000s, there's a scientist/antiquarian, Simon Petrikov, who studies ancient, possibly magical items. He went on various expeditions to find these legendary objects, like the armor of Zeldron, the wand of disbursement, the Enchiridion, the porcelain objects. Like
I know about that armor, man. It's ain't. Is that how it go? Your armor's not. Something like that.
Zeldron, the wand of disbursement, the Enchiridion, the porcelain lamb, and most importantly, Evergreen's crown. He teaches in a university about these magical items, but is looked upon like a quack for believing in magic in the modern day. A student, Betty Groff, is a believer, and trusts Simon's work. Simon had plans of going to Pakistan to search for the illustrious Enchiridion. Betty was also heading off on a trip to Australia, but instead canceled her plans and accompanied Simon on his trip. Together they found it, but upon their return, Betty insisted Simon take all the credit, that it was his achievement finding it solo. He accepted her offer, and after laboratory analysis, they found some pages and ink were made from plant materials not found on Earth. Simon's and Betty's relationship grew, but it was rather Simon-centric, with him failing to realize the sacrifices she was making to push his work further and further while leaving hers in the dust, and this doesn't stop. Now as fiancés, they publish a book together, Mystic Rituals and Their Space-Time Applications, a spell book filled with spells that currently do not work due to the unmagical state of the world. They also learn of the presence of Golb. Without knowing the consequences, Simon discovers Evergreen's crown and brings it home to his honey bunches, where he puts it on his head just for fun. Simon becomes the new host for Gunther's Wish, gaining the characteristics he viewed his master Evergreen had. Everything that made Simon Simon began slipping away. The crown slowly consumed him, his personality, his sanity, and much later his memory would be stripped of him, turning him into the loathed Ice King. With the crown, he became crazy, upsetting and scaring Betty, forcing her to briefly hide behind a corner close to him. Suddenly, a portal opens, caused by Simon, 1,000 years into the future, and future Simon was going to apologize for everything that happened in the last millennium. But instead, past Betty jumps into the portal, entering the land of Oo, leaving the current Simon to never know what happened to his princess. He believes that she ran away because of him, which is technically true. She ran away for him in the future. Simon begins taping himself and documenting his downward spiral. Even without the crown on, Simon's being has been infiltrated by Gunther's Wish. His skin turns blue and his hair is turning white and growing rapidly. As his transformation is underway, he is able to harness ice and frost powers just like the ice elemental. So let's turn to the Nightosphere. The Nightosphere is another dimension, kind of how lumpy space is its own. The Nightosphere is hell, essentially. It's a scary, scary place. Hellish creatures, demons everywhere, constant death. It's not a nice place. Well, I mean, if you think it is nice, you might be a little whacked up. The leader of the Nightosphere is Hunson Abadir, the Lord of Evil. He and Death once competed for the amount of dead people they were bringing in. Hunson claims he doesn't even know where he comes from, if he had parents, etc. He supposedly created the Abadir Axe to slay the current Lord of Evil at the time, and once he was slew, he usurped the position. He's had access to Earth for thousands of years, but now he's back. And despite what you may assume he would do with a title like the Lord of Evil, he doesn't destroy buildings and cities. All he destroys is yo mama. He knocks up this lady, Elise, and they have a half-human, half-demon child.
He so dead was knocking on humans.
Is yo mama. He knocks up this lady, Elise.
Black queens forever, man. Hey, Hudson Abadir is he no ball. He know well.
And they have a half-human, half-demon child, Marceline. She's basically a regular human, with the exception that she can suck the soul from people's bodies. So just a human with a slight tiny asterisk at the end. When Hunson was pouring the batter, I don't know if he was intentionally making pancakes, but he had to return to the Nightosphere either way, thus not really being in Marceline's life. I don't think they shared custody through dimensions, leaving Elise and Marceline living in a mobile home. During this time, the current elementals see a future vision of the Great Mushroom War. Somewhat similar to Evergreen's situation, the fire, candy, and slime elementals don't want to do anything about it, and keep the philosophy that they will live on. The ice elemental is a woman named Patience St. Pim, and she doesn't want to die, so she freezes herself to prevent her death, coupled with the fact that she wants to restore the world to the 4 elemental quadrants of ancient times. Once again, the ice elemental betrays the others. Finn and Jake just so happen to briefly time travel here, and they reek of magic as they come from a time with more magic present. This adds another reason to freeze herself so she can end up in a time with more magic, that way she can perform the elemental purification spell. Let me just clarify so no one's confused, even though Simon Petrikov has the crown and his ice powers from it, doesn't mean he is the ice elemental. He's not. They have to be reincarnated. A bit before the Great Mushroom War kicked off, this quirky dude, Mosif Maestro Giovanni, got all entrepreneurial and created Moko, after his own name. Moko creates robots. The first Moko robot was Amo, created to endlessly receive love, which ultimately made him repel it. Created as the opposite to Amo, made to endlessly give love and to take care of his future son, which he never ended up having, is BMO, short for Be More. BMO is an all-purpose video game system, along with every house appliance like a toaster, alarm clock, VCR, etc. Beyond BMO, there is a Mo robot for every letter. Mirroring Mo is another scientist named Hugo, who creates worse Mo units. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. How about some destruction? So anyway, global conflict, the Great Mushroom War occurs, completely obliterating nearly all Earth, wiping away nearly every single human. A massive something that wasn't a warhead hits the Earth, leaving a big old chomp out of Earth. This fallout also caused a—
Bro, I ain't gonna lie, they have the best storyline. Adventure Time has the best storyline.
lot of mutants to suddenly exist. Some good, some not so good. Some humans didn't really die, but instead got all radiated and started smelling sounds, creating the race of oozers. Zombie whoopee cushion looking things with green pus that squelches through their orifices. Write that down on the list of the craziest stuff I've ever said. New creatures and species emerge as a result of the mutation, but other species from other dimensions also flood in, like rainicorns, who fed on humans. Icky. Zombies, mutants, and now vampires. Let's go, baby. Those bloodsuckers that have been hiding for a while deem it's an okay time to come out, now that their primary food source is, basically extinct. They are led by the Vampire King, who has a tarot court of 4 more vampires named the Fool, the Empress, the Hierophant, and the Moon. Zombies, mutants, now vampires. Who are we missing? Oh yeah, the literal embodiment of evil. The Lich finally decides, I think it was his decision, to become corporeal and basically annihilate everything. This is a really bad doo-doo event. But there's hope. Wait, the 1,000-year timer is up and the blue catalyst comet hits Earth, delivering the embodiment of good. And it becomes a butterfly. But trust me, bro, this thing eventually becomes Finn the Human. Hugo and his legion of surviving humans head into space and are saved by a species of alien called the Greys. Hugo fuses the humans and the Greys' DNA to become more space compatible, and now they don't age and have pointy ears. This thing, a knockoff of Sheldon Plankton, a service droid of the Drift, rescues the doomed human-gray hybrids and brings them to a derelict and partially abandoned space station called the Drift. Hugo saw the opportunity of the Drift and the poor condition it was in, along with its alien inhabitants. So he carpe diem that mofo and began reconstruction. Once the station was not super sucky, he began the construction of the Unity Pod, which requires bits and bobs from other pods of the Drift that must be foraged for. So Hugo installs Hugo Mats, vending machines that do that very thing. In taking pieces from one end of the station to another, it begins destroying the Drift, all for this Unity Pod. But if they use the Drift pieces for the Unity Pod, eventually won't it just be a new Drift? The Drift of Theseus. Never mind. Hugo's great value brand BMO, Seago, actually's his master that he will ultimately destroy the drift. So like all whistleblowers, Seago gets scrapped in the garbage room. This will be adjourned. Not surprising, the tried and true capitalism survives the apocalypse. A company called Superporp, grape-flavored high-fructose corn syrup, or as us Americans call it, pop, or soda if you're from the loser states. This grape drink company manages to survive the war with a fully operational and automatic underground factory, still delivering cans to vending machines all across what's left of the nation. Same goes for Moco. Mo is still alive. The Mo robots are still being created, and they live underneath their factory. There's also a comic called Blee, an in-universe comic series everyone loves. In the far future, Finn and Ice King especially love it, and Ice King wants to write for it, but never gets a response. Finn and Ice King venture out to the headquarters to find a guard that's been guarding the building full of skeletons and dust. Blee hasn't been operational in hundreds of years, and the guard didn't even know it, feeling like his last half a millennium was wasted on protecting nothing. Finn and Ice King write the last issue of Blee together. Sorry, that's slightly out of order, but I didn't really want to separate it because I think it's formatted better if I just put it all together. Marceline and Elise somehow survived and are forced to scavenge around the nothingness of the world until Elise dies, and Marceline, just a young girl, well, half demon girl, has to survive on her lonesome. Not for long, because you know who else survived completely on his own with totally no magic involved? Simon, soon to be Ice King, and Marcy would survive together in the horror of the world. Simon gifts Marceline a teddy bear he found, and she names him Hambo, becoming one of her most prized possessions. Simon becomes a father figure to Marceline, and they become attached to each other. Not literally. Thought I should clarify that, because that doesn't sound too far-fetched, being that he's magic and she's half demon. Simon knows this is only fleeting, as one day he will be completely consumed by the crown. He continuously uses the crown to protect her from the dangers of the world, but its repeated use certainly isn't doing him any favors. Marcy comes down with a fever, and Simon is in a desperate quest for chicken noodle soup, eventually being gifted some after demolishing a bunch of oozers while singing the Cheers theme song. He loves that show, just an FYI. He used the crown for protection, accelerating his transformation. The thing that gifted him the soup was the mother gum, sentient gum that is strewn all throughout the desolated city. A few years pass, Marceline has grown up a little bit, and Simon is barely Simon. After finding a demon from the Nightosphere, he puts two and two and is determined to return Marceline to her father, who he just assumes is still there and wants her. Simon starts failing to record and journal his everyday activities, like he has been for a while, and so Marcy takes over. However, Simon continues to jot down a few thoughts here and there when he's able. Simon finds a copy of his old book he wrote with Betty and opens up a portal to the Nightosphere. Now the spells actually work with the terrible state of the world. He casts a binding spell unto Hunson so that he and Marceline will eventually meet one day, and he has successfully put Marceline en route to her father. He gives Marcy a recording for Betty, photos of Marcy's mother, that he somehow has, and a Nightosphere portal opening tutorial. Now Simon's mission is complete. The thing his sanity was hanging on for is safe. Well, kinda. She's still in the apocalypse. And thus he succumbs to the crown, becoming the Ice King. Ice King begins to fulfill the crown's needs of an ice kingdom, and just unleashes ice onto the land. So while Simon does that, Marcy meets a few werewolves who help her summon Hunson to Earth. Upon Hunson's arrival, he sucks her werewolf's friends' souls, leaving behind just their skin wrappers. Marceline doesn't like her dad, but stays with him for protection and information. The Lord of Evil decides to pass down the Abadir axe to Marceline. Along with him creating it, it's said to be a family heirloom. Take your pick. Hunson wants to help the remaining werewolves from this growing vampire problem, so once him and Marcy reach their settlement, he kills all of them, claiming it was basically the humane thing to do because, they were gonna die anyway. The guy by her father, she goes to calm down by making herself some fries. Hunson commits the cardinal sin and eats her fries. This instills the most vile hatred for her father, inspiring a hit song from all of our childhoods, the Fry Song. We all know it. Why did he eat her fries? And this little incident would inspire her very long music career, using the Abadir axe as her new instrument, giving it a dual purpose as a base, but is still a proficient weapon. She exiles Hunson back to the Nightosphere, and that was the end of that. Marceline befriends a unicorn, and they live happily ever after. No, that never happens. The unicorn is killed pretty quickly by vampires, so in a heroic vendetta, she vows to completely wipe out the entire race of vampires. I smell genocide. Marceline gets really good at killing, but then she goes to court. Not a courtroom, the Legion of Vampires. She picks them off one by one, slowly absorbing their powers with her soul-sucking ability she received from her father. She gained the ability to fly, invisibility, regeneration, and shapeshifting. The only vampire remaining was the Vampire King. Marceline happens to find a small settlement of humans who wear animal hats to protect their necks. They are in the process of boarding a freighter and setting sail for a new land in fear of the coming winter and unstable living conditions. Marceline now faces the Vampire King on the boat, and she successfully stakes his heart, and at the same time, he bites her neck, leaving one vampire, Marceline. She doesn't leave with the humans and stays on the mainland, becoming known as Marceline the Vampire Queen, and now she's also immortal. Also, she has no vampires to rule over, so that title is basically only ceremonial. She also accidentally kills her own dog, Schwabble. Just like her adopted father, she seeks out a certain book. The book, dare I say, the Enchiridion, using it to resurrect Schwabble, making him immortal as well. And then what does she do with this ultra-powerful book? Puts it under her head for a pillow and hibernates for hundreds of years. The boat of humans settled on a wee little archipelago. They form the Founders Island and do what we humans do best: colonize. Joe, one of the humans, who is also one of Marceline's friends, gets lost, so two-bred Tom, leader of the freighter and her father figure, blames himself, deciding the safest thing to do was isolate the islands from the outside world. Joe returned but didn't like the isolationist idea, so she and a few defectors escaped as the Guardian was under construction. They became known as the Hiders, eventually a derogatory term. The Guardian is a massive robot protector kept in the water to prevent anyone from leaving, or anyone from coming in.
This was scary.
The humans would then recreate what life was like before the Mushroom War, but 1,000 times better with better advanced technology. Moko also had some responsibility in helping their advancements, whether it be with the Guardian or something else. Hundreds of years later, the humans are still thriving. They can't all be cool like Marceline and Ice King and become immortal, so two-bred Tom and the original humans have long since died and are now looked upon as the founders, and an almost godlike worship respect thing is attributed to them. After all this time, the island is the only place where humans can be found. They were all dead on the mainland. But why? I don't know. Natural selection, I guess? But speaking of mainland, so just to clarify, we're hundreds of years since the war. There's a small remaining chunk of America, now called the Land of Oo. All history of before the war has been essentially erased. As far as we're concerned, the Land of Oo is the only land left on the Earth. The Mother Gum, the quasi-sentient-ish pink sludge that just exists in Oo, pops out a sentient pink girl named Bonnibel, who is the reincarnated candy elemental. And then Mother Gum pooped out a boy named Nettie, not a candy elemental. Nettie is a spaz, an agoraphobic animal. Bonnibel is the only one that hones him back in from his craziness. Like a hamster with their little water sucker thingies, Nettie finds enjoyment squelching a candy tree, which causes him to secrete the liquid he's sucking in. Bonnibel grows up a little bit and is super lonely because she's more human-like and has an animal for a brother. So with her super science-y brain, she creates some candy family members: Uncle Gumbald, Aunt Lolly, and Cousin Chicle. Gumbald enjoys a little too much freedom and overzealously wants to make an entire city of candy, but Bonnibel forbids it. And instead of obeying, what should we do? Create a potion that will make the victim brain dead, called Dum Dum Juice. Gumbald creates a new candy person named Mr. Cream Puff for Bonnibel to date to distract her. Gumbald forms an alliance with Lolly and Chicle, but quickly use the Dum Dum Juice on them anyway, turning Lolly into a piñata called Manfred and Chicle into a cookie named Crunchy. Since Lolly is now lost inside that body, she was technically his wife, so Uxoricide. Oh, yeah. And his supposed son, Chicle. Filicide. Oh, yeah. Bonnie sabotages his plans and uses the juice on Gumbald, turning him into Punchy the Punch Bowl. And thus, since he had the Dum Dum Juice used on him, which was the uncle she created, and it kinda killed him, wouldn't that be avunculicide? Oh, yeah. Her created family remains trapped inside these docile bodies, but cannot do anything about it, as Punchy, Manfred, and Crunchy each have their own personalities and are their own people, with no hatred for her. Bonnibel sees how great it is to have power over the simple-minded, so she plans on creating an entire—
If you think about it, she's a villain too, I ain't gonna lie to you.
kingdom of these goofballs, just like Gumball wanted. With the creation of the Candy Kingdom underway, Bonnibel crowns herself Princess Bubblegum. She hasn't forgotten about Nettie. The entire kingdom will surround the tree that he infinitely suckles on, and the juice he secretes powers all of the Candy Kingdom. She also locks away the Mother Gum for its safety under the kingdom. Henceforth, I'm calling Princess Bubblegum PB, just so you all know. She goes to a concert performed by a queen wielding a bass axe. Marceline has awoken from her slumber and has become a rad and gnarly rock star in OO. Marceline throws out her shirt to PB and they fall in love. During their relationship, PB goes mining, finding red and blue gems, which are sentient, but they don't know that. Carl the red gem is in love with Gemma the blue gem. They were once meteors that crash into Earth in dino times. Carl shoots lasers and Gemma can activate robots. She gives Carl to Marceline and PB keeps Gemma. So remember the blue catalyst comet, the embodiment of good, then a butterfly, then pink goop, which is not the Mother Gum, and then it becomes Shoko, this green lady with one arm, after her parents traded it for a computer. Can you blame them? You can't miss the new Fortnite season. They abandoned her in a dojo and she had nowhere to turn but crime. She and her tiger, a previous version of Jake the dog, are hired by the Bath Boy gang to steal the amulet that contains Gemma the gem worn by Princess Bubblegum. Instead of stealing it, Shoko accidentally befriends PB and becomes a trusted warrior to her. PB shows Shoko her new project, the Gumball Guardians, two massive gumball machine giants entrusted to protect the Candy Kingdom against the greatest threats. And with Gemma's powers, she powers them. The Bath Boy gang shows up and threatens Shoko to complete the job. So despite PB being really great to her, giving her a new robo-arm and everything, Shoko tries to take the amulet, but is blasted by a Gumball Guardian into the radioactive river surrounding the kingdom, and she survives. I guess. But she's now a disgusting gelatinous blob and manages to crawl away with the amulet, and then she dies. Her body will then transform into a massive willow tree. The cycle...
Man, this is a great story, man. Some of the stuff I did not know, for real. Oh, man.
Of life. It's like they always say, the QVC Ring channel is my favorite. A couple of people have probably said that. PB and Marcy's relationship works for a while, but they are complete opposites. All business and all party. She has a kingdom to build, and she has a music career to pursue. PB is summoned to one of the earliest kingdoms of OO, the Glass Kingdom, where everything is made of glass, even the people. Which would suck. This lizard thing named Molto Larvo became a misunderstood fire lizard and began attacking the glass people. PB is supposed to defeat Molto. Marceline tagged along, but was demanded that she return home as tensions are rising and their relationship is deteriorating. Instead of being the one left in the dust like Simon had to do to her, Marceline riffs up an awesome song and breaks up with PB in such a cruel way. For some bonus points, it was so cruel, Molto Larvo went back into his cave. Maybe he was just embarrassed watching a public breakup. The glass people reign Marceline as their savior and becomes a legend to the glass people. Despite their breakup, PB still keeps that shirt she originally got, and accidentally charging it with a ton of emotional magical energy from sleeping with it a lot. Now Marceline has a boyfriend, Ash, and he sucks. He's a misogynist. Together they move into a willow tree treehouse. This tree is what Shoko's blob dead body grew into. After her and PB's breakup, Marceline leaves Carl the gem in a chest inside the treehouse. This gem story is slightly retconny, but it mostly works. They eventually move out and Ash sells Marceline's prized possession, Hambo, the teddy bear Simon gave to her 1,000 years ago. He sold it to Maja the Sky Witch for a potion. It was so valuable to Maja because it contained a significant amount of emotional magic energy, which powers Maja's magic. Quicker than Ash could say the 1950s were a better time, Marceline dumps him. Bouncing over planets, in Mars, everyone is fed up with Magic Man's fiendish behavior. He unleashes 3 non-traditional plagues, one being the Plague of Hair, where all water turned to hair, and when drank or eaten, because I don't think hair could be drank, you would go bald. This affected Grob Gob Glob Grod, forcing them to wear this helmet, armor, trapezoid, pointy
Bro, I did not know that, man.
thingy. Abraham Lincoln punishes Magic Man, banishing him to OO, but he's given a transporter that allows him to return. The transporter can only be activated by someone who cares about someone, effectively keeping Magic Man in OO, terrorizing and grifting the people there, which doesn't really seem like an effective punishment. At some point, he captures Tiny Manticore, who becomes his pet and simultaneously his hostage, and together they live in a drab little shack. Now it's been close to 1,000 years since the Lich became corporeal, but he hasn't done anything in all of that time that actually harms anyone. He has a well of power where he's been gaining more and more power, anticipating his ultimate attack. One time, Ice King and Hunson Abadir created a dungeon underneath the Ice Kingdom. Ice King puts a picture of Betty in his section, the Hall of Just Ice. In Hunson's section, the Night Marrowsphere, he fills it with monsters, of course, and the Lich contributed too. I don't think he was invited. But in his section, he put the Echo of the Lich, a morsel of his own soul. Ice King and Hunson met the Lich, however the encounter was ephemeral, and they woke up 3 weeks later obfuscated and hungry. Much later, Finn, Jake, and Ice King destroyed the Echo of the Lich. The legendary hero Billy, the coolest dude around, Oo's greatest warrior, boyfriend to Canyon, this lady with water powers, managed to fight the Lich, which ended in the developing Candy Kingdom. The Lich was frozen in amber in the very center of the Candy Kingdom, diminishing the threat. Billy went on to live his awesome life and eventually got old and stopped being the greatest warrior ever. Another much less known explorer is Tree Trunks, a seemingly innocuous but deviant and salacious little elephant who has had many adventures and escapades. She's also kind of a player. She marries Randy, her high school sweetheart, but divorces him in the name of adventure, and she becomes a pirate. She meets her next husband, Danny, who only wanted her pirate ship. Tree Trunks didn't sign a prenup, so she maroons Danny on an island and tries to kill Mr. Faduti, Danny's conspiracy partner. Then the promiscuous elephant starts her own company with the pirate treasures and becomes even richer, having vague involvement with Moko and falling in love with her seal secretary Wyatt. Then they get married by a man made of earwax who claims to be the true king of Oo. But he's only a con man, and he's made of earwax. I just have to mention that a second time.
I did not know that.
I bet he stinks. Tree Trunks sells her company and gives her fortune to the King of Oo, and her and Wyatt settle in an apple orchard. Tree Trunks makes the most delicious apple pies, and Wyatt loves them almost as much as Tree Trunks loves Hanky Panky, and because of his addiction, she divorces him too. In the newest of adventures, she gets into polygamy, with a bunch of the Greys, the alien species that merge with Hugo and those humans. They come from a different dimension, and how they met is up to
You're getting that alien day.
everyone's interpretation, but it's not surprising in the slightest. With the Greys, she has 5 children, and adding on to this insane marriage, or relationship I suppose, they only visit every few years, so I wouldn't even call it a relationship. Back to the Candy Kingdom. PB is creating tons of citizens. She creates the Gum, similar to Mother Gum, as a replacement leader if anything happens to her. But it's just too nice, and incessant hugging becomes an issue, so she gave it its own kingdom. Later, the Gum comes back to take over the Candy Kingdom, so they have to kill it. Since Princess Bubblegum helps, isn't it technically filicide? Oh yeah. She set out to make a new heir, less sweet, birthing the Earl of Lemongrab, her vice princess. Except he's a dude. Lemongrab is one of the very few candy people that was unacceptable. He flails and screams, being one of the only failures of PB. He too is sent away, but remains the vice in case anything were to happen. All other candy people are made like her transformed family, stupid and harmless. Cinnamon Bun is the primest of prime examples of this. His extreme stupidity is also attributed to him supposedly being half-baked. There's Starchy, the gravedigger, who also runs a radio show called The Graveyard Shift. He's somewhat of a rebel, thinking PB is a tad totalitarian. Colonel Candy Corn, an old war veteran, despite there not being any wars he could have served in, I think. Root Beer Guy and Cherry Cream Soda are created and instantly married. Choco Berry and Mr. Cupcake, more prominent candy people, also get married, but that doesn't happen until the modern day. The Banana Guards, there's tons of them, but with their harmless and stupid candy DNA, the part of their name that says guards makes them oxymoronic. As a result, a legion of robots similar to the Gumball Guardians is created, called Rattleballs. They were so good at fighting crime, they got rid of all of it, which then made them resort to violence, so they had to be deactivated. Well, I mean, killed, really. Compressed into a little Wally cube. They were killed by PB. Also, since they were created by PB and then killed by PB, doesn't that mean filicide? But a single robot escaped to a junkyard. He gives himself a unique name, Rattleballs, and then continues to live in a dump for many years to come. Finally, an intelligent candy person and PB's advisor and butler, Peppermint Butler. He's so much smarter than the average candy person that he learns dark magic and becomes acquainted with important figures like Hunson Abadir and becomes great friends with Death. He might be a little evil himself. There was this guy called Peacemaster who came to the kingdom to protect PB from a dark magic force, which was Pep-Butt. But Pep-Butt defeated Peacemaster by forcing him to back down after turning his children into demons. And then Pep-Butt forces Peacemaster to humiliate himself in front of his kids. Evil! That was probably the most cruel and evil thing done to an innocent character in the entire show. Peacemaster says he will come back for revenge, which he does, but the weirdest thing about Peacemaster, he has a regular human minivan. Kinda weird because there's no vehicles. Sometimes certain candy people die or get lost, but that's completely a-okay. Since they were created by PB in the first place, she can just recreate them, exactly as they once were. It's a little up in the air if they retain their memories or not, just contradicting examples of that. Let's just say, yeah. It is confirmed, though, that some candy people are just better than others, are just too special to be resurrected. So PB gets to play God if one is just better than the others, which also makes no sense. If one is better, wouldn't you want that one alive and not the lesser ones? The quintessential example of the recreation is James. This wafer thing guy went with Finn, Jake, and PB to the wastelands of Ooh, still crawling with oozers. James sacrifices himself for their escape, but becomes an oozer himself. She creates a new one and is awarded a medal for his heroic act that he does not even remember. He fakes his own death so he gets another medallion, and then another one is created. Rinse and repeat, and now we have 1, 2, 3, at least 3 less than 50 Jameses. The original James Oozer comes back with a small army, and the James wanting that same praise attack them, all kind of dying? I mean, they lose their individuality and just become a massive James clump. I don't think there's 25 different heads thinking for it, even though there was 25 Jameses, so some of them just kinda coalesced with it. PB sweeps James to the 26th power under the rug and forces him to the wastelands. PB claims to have this unwavering love for her people, but it's a little fabricated. Constantly cloning them and replacing them just dehumanizes, well, decandyizes them, demeans the meaning of their lives, and numbs the effect of their deaths, and their whole existence. Bolstering a long and rich history, the Candy Kingdom is the pinnacle of Ooh, making it the most important land in most Ooh residents' eyes. Princess Bubblegum sees it this way too. She's a dictator, but a good one, if that's possible. She wants the best for her candy people in all of Ooh. Being incredibly skilled with science and diplomacy, she is looked upon very fondly by everyone. With some exceptions of rumors she was once a tyrant, but hey, happens to the best of us, right? Because of her importance and stature, she is somewhat viewed as the unofficial leader of Ooh, despite there being multiple kingdoms besides the sugary one. To some of her own candy people, though, she's extremely scary, as really bad games of telephone and twisted tellings of how it went down with Uncle Gumbald makes her sound like a ruthless killer. Because of stories like this, the entire Banana Guard, for example, treat her like a god and try to do no wrong, even subduing their own personal leisures and avocations like artistry. She does have a security system installed, patrolling everything that happens in all of the Candy Kingdom and keeping track of everything every citizen does. Okay, look, she has some paranoia. What's the big deal? Welcome to the Fire Kingdom, a much more lawless and cruel place. Its ruler is the Flame King, and he got there by killing all of his family in succession for the crown. Wait a second, killing his family, you say? Familicide. Oh yeah. Mo had his hand in this kingdom just like he did with the Guardian of the Island and some sort of involvement with the Martian civilization as well. He created the Sleeping Fire Giants. They ignited the flame which made it possible for the fire people to exist and start the kingdom. And Mo did that because he was bored. Mayhaps. I don't know. The Flame King has a daughter, Phoebe the Flame Princess, henceforth FP. She is the reincarnation of the Flame Elemental, but she doesn't know that. The Flame King hears a prophecy that she will become more powerful than him and will overthrow him. So like all family before he sends her to her death, leaving her to die in the forest. But she doesn't die, being dropped off to a lumberjack by Flame King's squire in pity for her. She burns down his cabin and breaks Smokey Bear's rule and causes multiple trees to burn, creating a massive pathway through the forest, eventually being interrupted by PB. She returns her to the Fire Kingdom, where she insists that if FP ever got into a romantic relationship, her emotional stability could burn the entire world down. Effectively doing the same thing as killing her, Flame King imprisons her in a lantern above his throne where she will remain for 1.4 decades. The other two elementals during this time are Patient St. Pim, who is still frozen, and the Slime Princess, ruler of the Slime Kingdom, one of the many surrounding kingdoms of Ooh besides the two largest. All of these kingdoms are ruled by princesses and are typically much smaller than the Candy Kingdom. A majority of these princesses are recognized in the Princess Day Summit, where they gather and deliberate princess business. Only registered princesses are invited. In attendance is Princess Bubblegum, Flame Princess, Marceline, despite being a queen and not actually actually governing anyone. The Breakfast Princess, Muscle Princess, Slime Princess, Raggedy Princess, Grid Face Princess, Embryo Princess, Wildberry Princess, Hot Dog Princess, Emerald Princess, Engagement Ring Princess, Skeleton Princess, Turtle Princess, Elbow Princess, Jungle Princess, Peanut Princess, Purple Princess, Space Angel Princess, Princess, Strudel Princess, and Old Lady Princess. Lumpy Space Princess was not invited, but came anyway. But the oddity about her is she is a conventional princess, where her parents Lumpy Space King and Queen rule Lumpy Space. She governs nobody. And even weirder, Lumpy Space is a separate dimension to Ooh, and really shouldn't have anything to do with Ooh affairs. Most importantly, LSP is the Lump's elemental reincarnation. The Lumpy Space people reproduce similarly to vampires. One bite and you turn into one of them. Once they get married, they fuse together, so no divorces. Another princess is Ghost Princess, who was once Warrior Princess. She loved her enemy's leader, Clarence. Right before a battle, Clarence cast a spell on her armor so he didn't accidentally kill her. She happened to change armor after spilling mustard on it, unknowing of the spell, and as luck would have it, Clarence killed her. Ghost Princess's memories are lost, and she's doomed to roam the mortal world until she can figure out how she died. Much later, Finn and Jake come across the ghost of Clarence, who offed himself, exploding from liquid cheese consumption due to his own sadness over the death of Ghost Princess. Jake actually witnessed this. Ghost Princess and Ghost Clarence fall in love, not knowing their own history. Finn and Jake help them figure out their causes of death, freeing them both to the 50th Dead World. Later, Clarence cheats on Ghost Princess, proverbially
No way, right?
stabbing her again, so she just bounces back to the mortal Ooh and lives there, also becoming a ghost hunter, helping PB free the Candy Kingdom of ghosts on one occasion. Some of these princesses possess a gem of power, usually embedded in their crowns and tiaras. The gems of power are jewels that have various magic powers, like protecting the wearer from the Lich's mind control abilities. But most importantly, the gems are used in spells with the Enchiridion. I know I've talked a lot about that book, and I haven't explained it. And you know what? I'm still not going to. But on the cover, there are slots for each of the gems. The people that own the gems are Princess Bubblegum, Engagement Ring Princess, Emerald Princess, Hot Dog Princess, Embryo Princess, and the Ice King. Billy's nose is also a gem, but it isn't inserted into the book. Instead, it projects light onto the book. It's worth noting, LSP's star in her forehead is technically a gem of some kind, but the purpose is unknown. Moving over to the somewhat totalitarian place, the island the humans escape to. Still isolationists, they control most aspects of life. Every child that is born is already assigned a role in their society. Anti-Hider propaganda is a major part of their life. One of the roles they can receive is being a Seeker. They learn their roles in a class like everyday school. Kara Strong, Seeker XJ77, is our star Seeker. All Seekers are given a cybernetic implant that controls them if need be. Dr. Gross is their teacher and the person behind their apparatuses. Kara has a friend, Frida, who grows a strong desire to leave the island and begins the blueprints for her exodus. She eventually attempts to escape, and despite all her teachings, Kara assisted in her escape, but Dr. Gross activated her implant, forcing Kara to destroy Frida's boat, sending Frida to re-education. A con man on the island is Martin Mertens. He trades escape plans for loot with hiders, and then reports them to the proper authorities, getting paid from both sides. One hider named Widow forces Martin to accompany her down to the beach, where they can make their supposed escape. Kara Strong is sent to capture the hiders, mistaking Martin for one, breaking both of his legs. Oops. This lands him in the hospital, where he meets Dr. Minerva Campbell. Opposites attract, and the two fall in love. It's what they say. Everyone loves a bad boy. I think people say that. I don't really know. I haven't been outside in 33 days. I've been watching Adventure Time. Minerva helps Martin escape his impending re-education, and they create a life together. The blue catalyst comet, which became the butterfly, then the pink goop, then Shoko, now has a new reincarnation. Martin and Minerva's child, Finn Mertens, aka Finn the Human. Finally, an hour in, we now have Finn. A year passes and Widow and fellow hiders escape re-education and unleash revenge on Martin while Minerva is at work. Martin is forced to escape the house with baby Finn onto a small raft. After running for a majority of his life, he was finally settled, and now he's forced to run again. His intention wasn't to leave the island, only to escape Widow, but the Guardian doesn't know the difference and attacks. Martin takes out one of the Guardian's eyes, but both Martin and Finn are separated and become Flotsam and Jetsam in the water, escaping the Guardian and leaving the island. Minerva returns home to a jacked up house and now an emptiness of unanswered questions, thinking Martin had finally stopped running. Her conclusion is that Martin was really a hider all along and took their baby, conning her for the past year. Finn floats on the raft all the way to Ooh, imparting a great fear of the ocean.
I hate that they never found out that the dad was just, you know what I'm saying, trying to help.
Unto him.
I'm not trying to help, trying to run away.
even though he doesn't remember this event, nor his parents, nor his origin. Dr. Gross sends off Kara Strong to retrieve Finn. Kara ultimately crashes into Ooh, forgetting everything, including her name and her entire purpose for being there. The implant no longer works, so she joins a tribe of humans. Close to humans, but more fishy. But still wearing animal hats, so Kara fits right in. They live in Butopia, an abandoned underground mall. Lubglubs, or what I like to call them, demonic hellspawns, chase the humans away, forcing them to live in the Candy Kingdom sewers. About 5 years after this, Dr. Gross accidentally releases a disease onto the island, killing well over 50% of the population. Dang it, don't you just hate it when you accidentally genocide? Being the last doctor remaining, Minerva uploads her consciousness into the World Wide Web, well, their equivalent, making a bunch of Minerva robot clones. This technically kills her, corporeally, but is alive in the computer. The clones are not her emotionally, they only have the purpose of helping, but in the main computer where she originally uploaded herself, she is still herself. Dr. Gross escapes the island, creating a home base in Ooh, where she continues wicked experiments on creatures and herself. Now that we're back in the land of Ooh, Joshua and Margaret are two married dogs that run Joshua and Margaret's investigation. They're doggy detectives. Their first case is to investigate a poltergeist in their own office. Turns out it's from a thing called a clock bear that is in their attic, but it's not in their attic yet. It is in the future, but it's causing time slips. The poltergeist is a future Finn and Jake trying to communicate with them. Yeah, time travel's cool, but man, does it complicate things. A short time later, Tree Trunks reports that her pies are being stolen and there are monster tracks suggesting it's more than a regular thief. They investigate it and it ends up just being Lard Boy Wyatt, stealing his own wife's pies. She even tells him that he could have just asked. Case closed. However, they find a real monster trail and follow it despite Joshua's pleading that Margaret is too pregnant. The monster ends up being a blue shape-shifting creature named Warren Ampersand. He is from a planet called Nara, where he's the only inhabitant. He wants to be immortal, so what he does is grooms a host from afar for children on other planets. He impregnates them briefly, birthing a new son, letting the son inherit his shape-shifting powers, then lures them to Nara, shape-shifting into an entire fabricated city to deceive the son, and then drains his son's shape-shifting energy via a belt, and then killing the son. And then he does this all again when he gets close to death, forever regenerating himself and killing his offspring. Oh yeah, filicide. Man, though, that's crazy evil. I just hope that that doesn't happen in real life, because that'd basically be impossible. Oh, yeah, the Venmo vampire, injecting his son's blood into him so he can live forever. Joshua finds Warren Ampersand and he impregnates Joshua on the top of his head, and then Warren dips. Joshua and Margaret meet back up and out pops a baby from Joshua's head. And then a baby pops out of Margaret. The baby from Joshua would be named Jake, who inherited his other father's shape-shifting stretch powers. Also the reincarnation of Shoko's tiger and perhaps the yellow catalyst comet. This predestined sucking of life could have possibly instilled Jake with his immense fear of vampires. And the baby from Margaret would be named Jermaine, just a regular dog. So they have one child he gave birth to and one she gave birth to, and they never let the boys know. They adopt a third child, created by a magic queen. Gata has a portal in her mouth. The queen is banished to another dimension, but the portal in the mouth connects them. Gata finds her way to Joshua and Margaret, and they adopt her. Later on, Joshua and Margaret would discover baby Finn, stuck to a leaf, and the adhesive is Finn's own Finkel. They think he's a mudfish at first, so they call him Finn. By luck, that's his real name, and they choose to adopt him and raise him with their puppies, and Gata. Martin, meanwhile, doesn't have the nicest of stories. He is pulled out of the water by Mr. Faduti, the dude Tree Trunks tried to kill, and Martin most likely has amnesia. He ends up a space criminal and can only remember dregs of his past. Joshua finds Gata's mouth portal, and to close it, uses a magic item. Gata turns to stone and wipes herself from all of their memories, leaving just a stone statue. A decade later, Finn and Jake break the statue, and Gata comes back to life. She knows them, but they don't know her. The portal is reopened, but Gata says, nah, magic queen lady bad, sacrifices herself, becomes stone again, and Finn and Jake forget about her again, making Gata null and void. Finn, Jake, and Jermaine are raised in the office and eventually a house atop a hill, filled with all kinds of cool monster artifacts and treasures from adventures. Joshua's adventurous personality inspires Finn and Jake immensely, while Jermaine, the regular plain dog, not so much. From age 0, Joshua wants to train them to be great fighters, designing dungeons for them in the future. In one of these dungeons, Joshua had an epic prize for Finn, the Demon Blood Sword. Joshua's an experienced demon hunter, so he shackles up his longtime demon rival Keoth, and drinks holy water to make himself immune to the blood-sucking. Keoth then sucks his own blood to forge a sword to escape, but Joshua yanks the sword from him, and now Joshua owns the Demon Blood Sword. He leaves it in this dungeon as the future reward. Keoth goes back to his world, the broke-up dimension, and begins his vendetta for Joshua. Throughout their lives, Joshua and Margaret both made hologram tapes for them. Joshua made them for information in the dungeons he set up, and Margaret made them as parenting tutorials. As the kids grew up, they warned Jermaine that Jake might eventually go through some changes. To be honest, I don't think they knew what that meant, but they were kinda deceptive. They never told Jake about his birth, they just told him he got his powers from rolling around in magic mud. And they told Finn he was born from a cabbage. During a winter, Joshua takes Finn and Jake out, and they stumble across the tree fort. Amazed in its glory, toddler Finn says they should move in there. Quote, "When we grow up, we'll live here and be best friends and spend every day together having adventures. For all time." When baby Finn said all time, he made an unbreakable oath to Chronologius Rex, and if that oath were to ever be broken, he would be sent to the vanishing point. A few years later, Finn and Jake move into the treehouse Marceline still technically owns, even though she doesn't live there. I mean, squatters' rights though. Finn has technically been there since the treehouse was made. If we really want to get technical, he is the tree because of Shoko. Also, water nymphs live in a pond outside the treehouse. Just thought I should mention that. I don't really know why. Also outside the treehouse is Science Cat and Shark, who come every day at 4 to fight Finn and Jake in a recreational way. They always decapitate Shark, but he regrows his head within the hour. Shark eventually died of old age, so Science Cat brings Spear Bear as his partner. Joshua would teach Jake something that would set him on an opposite path to his brother, pickpocketing. Since dogs age much faster than humans, Jake and Jermaine are already adults while Finn is still just a kid, so they begin to have their own lives. Jake leaves home and becomes a criminal. Way to go, Dad. You raised a hoodlum. Just the occasional purse theft and bike jacking here and there, but eventually evolves to a crime syndicate. Created by himself, his cohorts are Gareth, able to hypnotize people, and I definitely wouldn't leave your drink around him, the Flying Lettuce Brothers, able to imitate voices, and Tiffany. He can... Tiffany. And together they form an unnamed gang. They eventually disband when Jake falls in love with Card Wars, a holographic card game, and he became excellent at it. In the tournaments is where he met Moniker, his first girlfriend. It's also where he broke up with her after losing the championship to a guy named Grand Prix. To add insult to injury, Moniker and Grand Prix begin dating. Jake falls in love with Lady Rainicorn, of the Rainicorn species. The Rainicorns are from a place called the Crystal Dimension. Other inhabitants of that dimension are talking dogs, like Jake's species. The Rainicorns and dogs were at war for thousands of years, with ending only recently. Lady Rainicorn is the daughter of Bob and Ethel. Bob is a veteran of the war, being saved by a dog, thus loving the other species. Before Jake, Lady fell in love with a doggist, Lee. He still hates dogs so much that him and his gang attempt to trigger another war. They steal the crystal mergence of destruction from the doggy military. Lady stops this and escapes to Earth with the sandwich weapon thingy, and hides in a barn. Not long after, she meets Princess Bubblegum, and they develop a close bond. At some point, Jake begins dating her, learning the native Rainicorn language, Korean. Much later, he struggles to juggle hanging out with Finn versus Lady, so he hangs out with both at the same time, causing Finn and Lady to become best buds. Jake calls up Tiffany from his old gang to hang out with to make Finn and Lady jealous, but this backfires and Tiffany vows to kill Finn to reclaim his position as Jake's best friend. But Tiffany is scared off by Finn, at least momentarily. Lady wants her parents to meet Jake, but instead he invites them over early to get to know them. He stretches and pretends to be a Rainicorn in fear they may not like him due to the Rainicorn dog history. Bob reveals his war story and that he has an immense affinity for dogs. Jake has some interest in the arts. He writes a book under the pseudonym J.T. Dogzone called Mind Games that give false dating advice, and a newspaper column called Begs the Question. A squirrel, potentially named Stanley, is a little Mark David Chapman-y and follows Jake around wanting to be noticed, frothing at the mouth for a droplet of attention. And he does eventually try to kill him. Later on, he writes an article about Marceline and her band, giving her a boost in fame. He also plays the viola. His viola has a little worm named Shelby living inside of it. It's been fun, but Joshua and Margaret croak, and Finn and Jake bury them. They never reveal why they died. Jermaine takes over their house and takes care of all the demonic knickknacks. Like John Locke and the Button, he has to constantly reset a Teddy Ruxpin knockoff to keep a demon at bay. Mo sends off his precious little BMO into space to start a potato farm on Mars, but instead the plankton-looking service droid that has been decommissioned finds Bimo in space and takes him to the drift that is in a...
Man, oh man. I'm gonna have to break this up in 2 parts. Oh! Ooh. I didn't realize how long this video was, man. But I ain't gonna lie. Best story cartoon of all time. I don't know any other cartoon that has a better story. This is literally the best. I don't care what nobody say. Debate it with me. You know what I'm saying? You can't debate it with me. It really is. But yeah, man, I learned a lot today. I'm a part 2, I'm gonna finish it. I am currently at 59:23. Alright. Yeah, man, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, man, because I sure did. I'll be finishing part 2 tomorrow, probably. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to bro that shout out bro that told me to watch the video. I enjoyed it. Yeah, man, that's all I gotta say. Shout out Dan Fresh, shout out Real Flow. If you don't work, you don't eat. With that being said, I'm Project.